On the outskirts of a quiet New England town stood a crumbling mansion, its rotting gables clawing at the fog. The locals called it the House of Shadows, a name whispered rather than spoken, as if uttering it too loudly might awaken something that slept within its walls. Edward Mallory, a scholar of folklore and antiquities, arrived one autumn afternoon with notebook in hand and curiosity burning in his chest. He had heard of the house's cursed reputation, a place where time distorted and shadows moved without cause. Yet to Edward, the stories were challenges, not warnings. The mansion groaned as he pushed open the heavy oak door. The air was thick with dust and decay, but beneath it he sensed something else, a pulse, faint but steady, as if the house itself were breathing. He began his exploration, documenting every creaking hallway, every faded portrait of long-dead residents staring down with mournful eyes. In the study, behind a torn velvet curtain, Edward found a hidden door leading to a narrow stairway. The steps descended into a secret chamber that smelled of earth and rot. Inside were relics, strange totems carved from bone, candles that refused to melt, and at the center, a massive tome bound in black leather, its pages covered in indecipherable script. When Edward opened it, the air grew colder. The letters seemed to shimmer, rearranging themselves, whispering. The voice that filled the room was not his own. It murmured of rituals performed long ago, of an ancient entity that fed on human fear and despair. The lights flickered. Shadows detached from the walls, slithering toward him like living smoke. Edward fled, but every corridor twisted back to the same door, the chamber with the tome waiting for him, pages fluttering like a heartbeat. In his final entry, scrawled with trembling hand, Edward wrote, "The house does not want to be studied, it wants to be obeyed." The locals say if you approach the mansion on a moonless night, you can still see Edward's lantern flickering in the windows, trapped in the eternal loop of a house that devours its guests and hungers for more. In the seaside village of Greyhaven, the ocean was both lifeblood and curse. The fishermen told tales of something vast beneath the waves, a being older than the tides themselves. Clara Bell, the daughter of a fisherman lost at sea, grew up listening to these legends. Some said her father hadn't drowned. He'd been taken. As she matured, the whispers returned to her in dreams, voices calling from the deep, promising truth. One night, driven by obsession, Clara took her father's old boat and rowed past the safety of the harbor. The sea was unnaturally still. She cast her line, but instead of the usual tug of fish, she felt a slow, deliberate pull, as though the ocean itself were holding on to her. When she peered over the side, she saw faces beneath the water, men, women, and children, their eyes open, their mouths moving soundlessly, the faces of the drowned. The pull grew stronger, and from the depths rose a colossal shape, draped in tendrils of darkness and coral. Its eyes gleamed with something that was both hunger and recognition. As Clara screamed, she saw her father among the drowned, reaching toward her. "Join us," he mouthed. "It's in our blood." Panicking, she hacked the fishing line and paddled back toward shore. But the village lights had vanished. Only the ocean remained, infinite and black. In the morning, fishermen found her boat drifting empty. Some claimed to still hear her voice at night, singing softly from beneath the waves, a lament for those the sea refused to give back. Others whispered that Clara was not taken by the creature, she had become it. The Ashfield Asylum had been abandoned for over 40 years, yet its reputation for horror remained fresh. Locals warned that its walls still echoed with the cries of those who never left. Mark and his friends were amateur urban explorers, always chasing the thrill of the forbidden. For Mark, however, the asylum was personal. His grandfather had been one of its last patients before the institution was abruptly shut down. They entered through a shattered window, their flashlights slicing through the gloom. Graffiti covered the walls, but beneath it, faint words could still be read. "He sees through us all." Deeper inside, the air turned colder. They found rusted equipment, metal tables with restraints, medical tools arranged with unsettling precision. Then came the first scream. One of the explorers vanished into a corridor, her flashlight rolling back empty. Panic spread. Mark led the remaining two deeper into the asylum, desperate to find her. Doors slammed on their own. A gurney rolled down the hall without being touched. Then, from the darkness, figures began to appear. Patients in tattered gowns, their eyes hollow yet filled with fury. One by one, his friends disappeared, their cries echoing through the corridors. Mark stumbled into a locked office. Inside were documents revealing his grandfather's file. Subject #19, cognitive expansion experiment, failure, total psychosis. A recording crackled to life on the desk. A doctor's voice said, he believed his mind could reach beyond the body. He succeeded. The lights burst. When Mark looked up, he saw his grandfather standing in the doorway, half transparent, smiling. "You finally came back," the ghost said. "Now we can finish the work." By morning, the asylum was silent again. Investigators found only one thing left behind: a camera still recording, its lens fixed on a wall where words had been scrawled in blood. The mind never dies. Every night at exactly 12 a.m., Sarah Whitmore's phone rang. At first, she thought it was a prank, but the voice on the other end was wrong, distorted, whispering her name and revealing things no stranger could possibly know. "Sarah," it hissed, "do you still hide the mirror under your bed?" That childhood secret sent chills down her spine. She tried to block the number. The calls continued. Each night, the voice grew bolder, recounting her memories in excruciating detail, fears, regrets, moments she'd never shared with anyone. Her friends dismissed it as paranoia, but soon the disturbances bled into reality. Her house began to feel watched. Doors left open, footsteps in the hall. Her own reflection seemed delayed, like a second too slow to follow. One night, she answered the call and demanded, "Who are you?" The voice laughed. "You know me. You always have." Following the static, Sarah traced the call's origin to her own home. The sound grew louder the closer she came to her bedroom mirror. When she touched the glass, her reflection smiled. But she didn't. The mirror cracked. The voice whispered one final time, "You can't silence what you've buried." Sarah was found days later, her phone shattered beside her, every mirror in the house broken. Some say the midnight caller was never a person, but the manifestation of her repressed fears, a living echo that escaped the depths of her mind. And if you're awake at midnight, listening closely, you might hear your own phone ring. At the edge of a fog-choked forest lay Hollowmere Cemetery, forgotten by time and untouched by the living. No one knew who was buried there anymore. The stones had eroded, the names long vanished, but the dead had not forgotten themselves. Thomas Wainwright, a historian fascinated by burial customs, arrived one evening with his lantern and journal, determined to catalog what remained. As twilight descended, the air grew heavy. The wind carried faint whispers that seemed to call his name. He dismissed it as imagination, until the ground beneath him trembled, the fog thickened, and faint figures began to emerge between the tombstones, their forms flickering like dying candle flames. The dead were awake. Each spirit carried the marks of their demise, burned flesh, broken bones, sorrowful eyes. They surrounded Thomas, murmuring pleas for remembrance, for release. Terrified, he stumbled upon a massive crypt, its stone door engraved with symbols identical to those from the House of Shadows. Inside lay an unmarked coffin. His lantern flickered, illuminating carvings that told a chilling truth. The blood of the Wainwrights binds the gate between the living and the damned. Thomas froze. The realization struck. He wasn't just a historian. He was a descendant of the very cult that had cursed the mansion, the asylum, and even the ocean itself. His family had served an ancient entity, one that whispered from the abyss, feeding on fear across generations. As the spirits closed in, their whispers merged into a single voice, deep and endless. "Welcome home, Thomas." The lantern went out. By dawn, the graveyard was silent once more. But if you stand among its tombstones at night, you might hear the faint scratching of a pen against parchment, a historian still writing, forever documenting the horrors he helped awaken. Each story, each tragedy was not isolated. The house, the sea, the asylum, the mirror, and the graveyard were all threads of the same web, spun by something that existed beyond time. An ancient force whispering through the cracks of reality, seeking new voices to echo its madness. And perhaps as you finish watching this, you'll hear it too. A faint whisper from somewhere unseen, calling your name from the dark.